Steven Universe and all associated images are property of Cartoon Network, Rebekah Sugar, and any and all other respective owners. I don't know them all. All footage in this video has been used for the purpose of critique parody under fair use. Please support the official release. Lapis Lazuli is a very difficult character to pin down. Watching episodes that involve her character, you kind of get the sense that there is a rockiness, intentional or unintentional, to the way that she's been characterized, and I've actually complained about this before. I feel like her characterization could have been a lot more consistent. I still feel that way. I still feel like her characterization could have been handled better, though I couldn't have actually handled it better myself, so maybe I don't have any room to speak on this particular subject. But the episode Room for Ruby really helped me to kind of string everything together and come up with my own interpretation of the character and who she is and where the crew is going with her characterization overall. I'm going to be pretty brief about this because we still don't know a lot about her character. I'm mostly going to cover what my impressions of the character are in this video, and keep in mind this is just my interpretation. Your interpretation could be entirely different, and that's fine, because Lapis is still an evolving character. We are going to learn more about her as the show progresses, and I could turn out to be completely wrong. I'm also not going to break down literally everything about her character. I'm going to keep this to a couple of specific themes, things that jump out at me the most about Lapis and her characterization so far. So if you feel like there's something to do with Lapis that I should have talked about and didn't, that's probably why. I associate Lapis Lazuli with a couple of key words. A couple of key emotional states, that being uncertainty, denial, and guilt. We see in the episode The Answer that Lapis Lazuli was amongst the other high-class gems present in Blue Diamond's court. This tells us that at some point Lapis Lazuli was considered relatively important. This does not, by any stretch, put her on par with someone like, say, Sapphire, who is treated like one of the most important non-diamond gems, but it means she wasn't part of the common rabble, I guess you would say. I've theorized that this is because Lapis Lazulis were used to carve out the sites for kindergartens and were therefore considered very important in at least pre-war Homeworld society. But for whatever reason, when Lapis tries to return to Homeworld after the events of Mirror Gem and Ocean Gem, she is no longer treated with the importance that she expected. She even speaks to the Crystal Gems as if they should recognize her as a Lapis Lazuli and someone important. That being a Lapis Lazuli makes her someone important. And yet, returning to Homeworld, she was immediately captured to use as an information resource. Whatever weight she thought she would have upon returning to her home, she didn't. She didn't have that weight to throw around. And that has left her confused as to where exactly she stands in the universe. Just like any other gem, she is programmed to believe that her purpose, the purpose assigned to her by Homeworld, is what she is supposed to do. It's like Rose said in Greg the Babysitter, gems aren't meant to change. They're meant to do one thing for the entirety of their existence. And Jasper made it completely clear in Earthlings that gems that can't fulfill their purpose are destroyed. Steven may have accepted Lapis, Peridot may have accepted Lapis, the other crystal gems, I would say to a lesser extent, may have accepted Lapis, but Lapis still feels unsure of where she fits in the universe, and that is a big part of why she hasn't chosen to identify as a crystal gem. The other big part of that being the fact that she was captured by her people during the war, simply because she was suspected of being a crystal gem and interrogated for what seems like thousands of years. That's how she ended up in her mirror in the first place. That's how she was damaged in the first place. And it really speaks to how important she must have been before the war, that she thought she could just return to Homeworld after that and resume her life. And it really speaks to how much the war must have shaken the Homeworld gems that they would imprison such an important gem in the first place simply on the suspicion that she was one of their enemies. Lapis's life has been terrible, and she could probably do to open up about some of her past experiences, and yet she denies them constantly. She finally admitted to Steven, and you could tell that it was a difficult decision to admit to Steven what happened to her during the war, how she ended up in her mirror. And even then, it's pretty clear that she skips over large chunks of her history, likely because she is still in denial as to what happened during those big chunks of her story. I mean, it's possible that it's not relevant to the story and therefore wasn't included in the episode, but when she is telling Steven about when she first arrived on Earth, the language that she uses seems to be dismissive of the event in a way that suggests that she doesn't want to talk about it, which is perfectly in line with a couple of other instances of dialogue shared between Lapis and other characters. In The New Crystal Gems, she is very dismissive of her role in harming Connie and the rest of the world back in Ocean Gem, despite the fact that she was shown back in Alone at Sea to feel guilty about what she had done. And it took her quite a while after she was reunited with Steven to open up to him about the fact that she feels guilty about what she did to Jasper. tricking Jasper into thinking that she wanted to help Jasper fight the crystal gems so that she could imprison Jasper in an unstable fusion. Jasper was not good to Lapis. We know that for a fact. Jasper imprisoned her. But Lapis imprisoned her likewise, and even admitted that she did so, at least in part, because she wanted to do to someone else what had been done to her. She knows that regardless of what kind of person Jasper was to her, that it was wrong to do that and she feels bad about it, and yet she is so dismissive of her actions in front of someone like Connie because she doesn't know Connie. She knows Steven so much better. In fact, Steven is the only character in the show so far who seems to be someone who Lapis is comfortable opening up to. She's formed a close bond with Peridot, but there has been no indication in the series so far that she and Peridot have discussed any of this. In fact, in the episode Room for Ruby, when Lapis is faced with Navy, who should have similar feelings to Lapis herself about the Earth and the crystal gems, and yet she is so willing to accept them and so willing to open up to them, Lapis is immediately suspicious of her, and Peridot never catches on. If Lapis and Peridot were close enough for Lapis to feel comfortable sharing her feelings with Peridot, Peridot wouldn't have been so surprised by Lapis's reaction. And the fact that Lapis was so happy when it was revealed that Navy wasn't as well adjusted as she appeared to be, proves that Lapis is starved for validation. Validation that she can't find because she is having trouble coming to terms with her insecurities and her past mistakes enough to take the time to work through them. Maybe if she spent more time alone with Steven, things would happen in this area and Lapis would be able to grow again as a person, to begin to overcome her past and work through the things that she, quite frankly, doesn't like about herself. But she rarely, if ever, seems to spend any time alone with Steven at all. There's also the fact that her development is going to have to hinge on Jasper. Regardless of what kind of person Jasper was, Lapis did mistreat her by trapping her in malachite, and for Lapis to ever develop satisfactorily as a character, that's going to have to be addressed. There's simply no two ways about it. Thankfully, I still think that a Jasper redemption is coming, and a Jasper redemption would be the perfect time to address this issue, so I do think it's going to happen. And I think once it does, Lapis will begin to open up much more about herself and begin to develop as a character in a much more, fluid manner. We did see that she wants to. We did see that she wants to move beyond these things, because she did bring them up back in Gem Harvest, as if she was testing the waters. It is something that she wants to see happen, and so I think it will. Overall, I find Lapis to be a very intriguing character, a character who I feel could have been handled better at times, but definitely an intriguing, if deeply flawed, character, and one who I am very interested to see continue to grow in this series. In fact, I hope that down the line, Lapis will grow so much as a character that I'll have enough material to do another video like this. All of that said, guys, what did you think of this video? Did you like the way that I characterized Lapis? What is your personal interpretation of her character? Let's get a discussion going in the comments section down below. Either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.